Alright. How to mount wide format prints to foam board 101. For this exercise, we're going to assume that this piece of plywood right here is your foam board, and this is your finished printed wide format piece. You preferably are going to want to print it so you actually have a little bit of margin around the outer edge of your print, and you're going to want your foam board preferably at least maybe an inch on each side, maybe a half inch bigger than your workpiece as well. You want that little bit of overlap as playroom to work with. Go ahead and position it in such a way where you're making the most efficient use possible of your foam board. You can go ahead and pre-cut the foam board so you don't wind up accidentally getting overspray of the spray glue onto the remainder of your foam board and thusly making it much more difficult to work with. You're going to go ahead, lay it out, grab some sort of heavy weight. It can be a jug of water, it could be a package, whatever. Gently set it on one side. It doesn't matter if it's right or left, that's up to personal preference. You're going to need also your spray glue and your, I think they're called slickers. They often come in the marketing kits for corporate. Set that off to the side. It is preferable, if you're going to be doing a lot of these, to have a dust mask just because it is unpleasant to breathe in glue vapors. Set this right around the middle, a little bit short of the middle. Go ahead and lift one side carefully. Make sure your area is clean, unlike this one. And you are going to spray the work surface. This is not going to be anything load-bearing, so you don't have to go crazy with the glue. And from here, using your slicker, you're going to come around this side and slowly using it in a gentle pushing motion, you're going to secure it down to the board, trying to work out any bubbles as you go. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. Take your time. Try to avoid getting this past the paper and thusly getting glue on the edge of it, which you would then otherwise transfer directly onto your finished print. And work out your bubbles like so. Nice. Now, no matter what happens, this can't shift one way or the other. You can now get rid of this. Set your slicker off to the side. Pull up gently the remaining bit. Spray down this. And repeat. If you've got a big enough print, you may want to have a second person help you by holding the print and gently lowering it so you don't run into situations like that. If you do, gently try to pull it back up. The thinner the paper, the more fiddly and difficult it can be. The thicker the paper, the more it's going to try to lay down like a solid rather than something very, very flexible. Not using a ton of pressure, just very light force, and I'm making sure not to try to scrape the slicker across the surface. There we go. We'll touch up if you see any bubbles. Try to work them out with the slicker. If you've got any more egregious bubbles, you may want to take an X-Acto knife or a pin, poke into the very edge of the bubble, and then try to use the slicker to work out that excess air. Go ahead and make sure it looks good. I recommend practicing this on a scrap piece of like 11 by 17 a couple times onto just some scrap corrugate like an old box. That part is all good. You're then going to take a straight edge. If you've got one of those clear acrylic ones, that's great. If you don't, you can use your T-square. Gently set it on your crop line. take your box razor, cut all the way through the foam board as well. Be mindful of the fact that now that I've placed this down against the exposed foam board, there may be some glue stuck to the underside of this, so be cognizant of that when you go to lay it back down on your finished print so that you don't get glue on it and thusly mar the surface and cause you to have to reprint it. Alright, thank you very much.